The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. I would like to thank you for joining us today. I am looking forward to spending some time with you this afternoon. I think you're going to be in for a real treat because we have all heard stories about identity theft and fraudulent activity, whether it was our sister's credit cards that were stolen or when our friend went to file for taxes and found out someone else had filed them for her, or maybe we've been a victim of identity theft. While identity theft is not anything new, it kind of leaves us thinking about these stories, and we want to scratch our heads and think, why in the world would someone do something like this? My name is Sarah Landrum, and during today's webinar, Fighting Fraud, we are going to be talking about things like what is identity theft and how to prevent it, how to detect fraudulent activity and prevent it, how to report fraudulent activity, and additional resources to protect yourself. Now, this particular presentation has a ton of information, and we want to make sure that we provide everything to you. So we will be sending out the PowerPoint presentation, and you should see on each of the slides everything that we talked about. So don't worry about taking notes because everything should be provided on the presentation when you receive it. And your lines have been muted. You will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end. You do have a question box. So hopefully we will be able to get to everyone's questions when we finish with the information today. And while I think everyone has an idea of what is identity theft in their minds, and maybe you even have an image of identity theft, but this is the definition that we like to use here at the credit union. Identity theft is when someone falsely uses your name and personal information to get a loan, open a credit card, or attempts to access information from your financial account without your permission. And to kind of give you a visual of what identity theft and fraudulent activity looks like, in the picture here you can see someone standing behind the scenes. You don't know who they are, but they're waiting to get your information. They may steal your cash. They may steal your social security number, your credit card numbers, and they may do it several different ways. Maybe they're obtaining your information through a computer. We're going to talk about all these things today, and we're going to provide you with some resources of how to protect yourself. Whether you're young or old, whether you're average or you're rich and famous, identity theft can happen to you. And here is a good example. In 1998 and 1999, a 25-year-old man named Anthony Taylor impersonated a man named Eldrick T. Woods. He was able to obtain credit cards and a driver's license in this person's name. And over the course of a year, he racked up about $17,000 worth of debt by putting down payments on vehicles, purchasing electronic items. And I kind of think about this one and scratch my head. Why in the world would you want to impersonate Tiger Woods? Why would you take that chance? Well, if you think about it, there were two things that this man knew as an identity thief. He knew that no one would recognize who Eldrick T. Woods was. If I ask you today, do you know who that is? Most of you probably couldn't tell me that that was Tiger Woods. So he was able to get by with that name. And if you think about the rich and famous, they probably don't monitor their accounts like we do. $17,000 is probably just pocket change to them. However, Tiger Woods is pretty smart about identity theft because he knew as soon as he started getting bills in the mail, he knew that he pays cash for everything, and he was able to testify in a court of law that when he goes to Circuit City, he doesn't use a credit card, he uses cash. So how in the world does that thief become you? And some of these different ways have been since the beginning of time. For example, stealing your purse or your wallet. That's been around forever. Even someone stealing your mail. Fraudulent address changes. One of the good things that a lot of companies, including DCCU, have adapted in their practice with address changes is we verify the address when a member wants to change it. We want to make sure that we are changing it for the correct person. We do that to protect our members. So we do require a signature, and we do require ID in order for you to change your address. There's also phone call scams, and we would never be able to cover all of them today because there's so many, but we will talk about one in particular that seems to be the most popular, and it resurfaces over time. And also dumpster diving. This is one that makes me scratch my head and think, why in the world would someone dive in a dumpster to obtain personal information? Well, there's an old saying that says one man's trash could be another man's identity. Someone may want to steal records from your employer, or they may even bribe an employee who has access to records. And there's also internet scams. So how do you protect your information? Well, one of the things that we highly recommend, and it's going to be first on the list, is to properly dispose of paper that has any personal information on it. We do recommend that you purchase a personal shredder, and you can usually do that around $25. And I even recommend that you give them to your family and friends as Christmas presents or birthday presents, because a personal shredder will allow you to get rid of that unnecessary paperwork around your house that you don't want someone to get a hold of. I also recommend that you get one that does the crisscross shredding versus just down, because it destroys your paper a little bit better, as well as getting the one that will shred a credit card, because if you have credit cards, you know you get a new one every couple of years, so you don't want the old one just hanging around your house where somebody could get a hold of your number. And something else that we do at DCCU twice a year is we offer shred days. We offer them in the spring at various office locations and in the fall. And we have a shredded truck on site, and if you make a donation to the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, we will shred your documents for free. This is not only for our membership, but it is also for the community. Also to only give out your Social Security number when required. A lot of times people will ask for the Social Security number. My first question would be to them is, why do you need it? What are you going to use it for? Yeah, there are times that you need to give your Social Security number, like you're applying for credit, or maybe you're at the Department of Motor Vehicles. You do have to give your Social Security number for places like that. But again, just make sure that you're asking and you know what they're going to use your Social Security number for, because once you give it out, it can be used by an identity thief. Reduce the number of cards that you carry. Many people have various credit cards. If you carry them all in your wallet or in your purse and someone steals your purse or your wallet, or maybe you just drop it, maybe you lose it, and you have all your cards in there, someone would be able to use all of your cards and max them out versus if it's just one card. So we recommend that you get whatever that card is that you like to use, keep that one in your pocket, and then keep the other ones at home. Read your financial institution and credit card statements carefully. And that's for a couple of different reasons. A lot of times people get their statements in the mail, or you get them electronically and you just don't read them. Well, the quicker you read them, the quicker you're going to detect any kind of fraudulent activity to your accounts. And also, there's a time period that you can dispute charges that have happened. So you want to make sure that you're able to dispute them in a timely manner. Otherwise, if you don't, you could forfeit that money that was not used by yourself. Opt out of mailing lists and telemarketing, and we will give you some resources to do this at the end of the presentation. Also, get a free copy of your credit report, and we'll talk about this in detail in just a little bit. Don't give out credit card or personal identification numbers over the phone. One of the things that I try to just really get through to people is your financial institution or your credit card company will not call you and say, can you give me your credit card number, or can you give me your account number, or can you give me your password? We already have credit card numbers and account numbers on file, so we're not going to ask for them. Just remember, if you get a call and it sounds like your financial institution, instead of giving the information, say, let me call you back, and then call the number that you know is your financial institution or your credit card company and verify with them that they were trying to call you, because you're probably going to find out it wasn't them. And online banking users catch fraudulent activity on their accounts 10 times faster than those who don't use electronic services. And I'm going to stop here for just a minute, and I'm going to give a personal testimony that actually happened to my husband. A few years ago, he was checking his account online, and he noticed 2 transactions in his checking account that he was pretty sure that he didn't do. One was to purchase a cell phone. Well, he already had a cell phone, so why would he be purchasing one? And then the other one was a restaurant, and it was out of state. And he knew that we had not been out of state to eat. So he was able to catch those 2 transactions quicker. He normally checks his account every night or every couple of days, but had he waited to the end of the month when he just got a statement in the mail or got his electronic statement and he wasn't looking at his account, I can imagine the damage that could have possibly been done. It could have overdrafted his account, cost a lot of fees. So we highly recommend that if you have access to a computer, that you do sign your accounts up for online banking, because you'll be able to view your account whenever you want to, 24/7, and that way if something unfortunately does happen, you're going to catch it a lot quicker. So let's say you have been a victim of identity theft or fraud. What are the steps that you should take as the victim? The first thing that you would want to do is contact one of the 3 credit bureaus, request what is called a fraud alert, and then of course obtain copies of your credit report. You do not have to contact all 3 credit bureaus, which is Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Once you contact one of them, they have to contact the other 2. So if you just contact one of them and ask for the fraud alert. And what a fraud alert does is it's an alert that's put on your credit report. So if you go to a lender or someone else goes to a lender and they're trying to obtain credit in your name, then the credit bureau has that fraud alert when they pull your credit report, and there's additional steps that are taken in order to identify that that is truly you. Also contact and write creditors of fraudulent and compromised accounts. One of the things that I have people tell me is, I didn't do it, why do I have to take care of this? Because it can take a lot of time, a lot of work that's put into fixing identity theft and fraudulent activity. However, it is your identity, so unfortunately you are the only one that can fix it. Cancel ATM, debit, credit cards, and order new ones. You definitely, once a card number has been compromised, you definitely want to make sure that you cancel it so they can't use your card to charge or to use it to make another transaction. File and obtain local police reports, because identity theft and fraudulent activity is illegal. A crime has been committed. So in order for you to dispute it with creditors or fraudulent or compromised accounts, they're going to need to see a copy of a police report, so they do definitely know that a crime has taken place. And then if your driver's license has been compromised, here is DMV's information. If your Social Security number has been compromised, here is the Social Security Administration's information. And then if you have been a victim of mail theft, you can also contact the U.S. Postal Service, and they will give you steps to take in order to prevent mail theft from happening in the future. Under the Telephone Communication Protection Act, the Federal Trade Commission and the Federal Communication Commission set up what is called the Do Not Call Registry. And what this does is it allows consumers for free to add their telephone number or add their cell phone number to prevent telemarketers from calling you. And we are going to take just a few minutes out, and we're going to look at the website Anytime that I tell you to use a website, we always want to make sure that we're where we need to be, because websites can be what we call spoofed. They can look like a legitimate website, and in return they're not. So let's go to the Do Not Call. It is a government site, and we're just going to take a look at it so you know when you get to it what it looks like. And this is where you are going to register your phone number. So you would just click here, and it tells you some information, and then there are 3 different steps. You put in your information and then you submit it. So it takes about 30 days for it to go into effect, so you may still get some telemarketer calls. However, you want to give them enough time to get that done, and then hopefully you should see them diminish over after the 30-day time period. Something else that I wanted to let you know about on the Do Not Call registry, even though it allows you to opt out from getting telemarketer calls, there are some organizations that do not have to comply, and we're going to look at those. Calls from organizations with which you have established a business relationship. So let's say you have an account at a financial institution, or maybe you have a credit card with a certain company. Because you have established that relationship with them, they can still contact you. Calls for which you have given prior written information. So if you have given someone written information that they can contact you, then the Do Not Call registry does not, they do not have to comply with that. Calls which are not commercial or do not include unsolicited advertisements, and then calls by or on behalf of tax-exempt nonprofit organizations. So if it's election year, you may have some calls because they do not have to comply with the registry. Maybe the Sheriff's Department is doing their annual fundraiser. You may still get those types of calls. So what the Do Not Call registry does for you is helps diminish those telemarketing calls. And then we talked earlier about some telephone scams, and this seems to be the most famous one. A caller says that you have won the lottery, but you must send money before you can collect. This is fraud, and you will always lose your money. I'm going to give you 2 rules today to follow, and if you follow these 2 rules, you will never fall for the big prize scam. Number 1, if you win the lottery, you have to play. So if you've not played the lottery, this is a scam. And number 2, if you do win the lottery, you're not going to have to pay to get your proceeds. Now, they may take some taxes out, they may take some fees out, and then send you whatever your check would be, but you're not going to have to send money to claim your lottery prize. And if you want to, in your time, go to the Federal Trade Commission's website, and in the search bar, you can type in lottery scams, and you will find pages and pages and pages of them. It's not just one, it's several. So in your time when you're just wanting to check things out, or maybe you've received the call, or maybe you've received an email about this, and you want to see if it's legitimate, you can type that information in at the Federal Trade Commission's website, and they will be able to tell you whether or not it's a scam. And if you maybe get one that's not on their website, report it to them so then they can add it and help other consumers who may have been victimized by this. So what does the perpetrator look for? And of course, we talked earlier, we talked about Social Security numbers. That's just so important for you to make sure that you are keeping your Social Security number protected at all times. Don't carry it with you. Most of us know our Social Security numbers by heart. We've used them for years and years and years, so don't carry your card with you. Also, credit card numbers. They're looking for credit card numbers, and maybe if you have been a victim of the lottery scam and they sent you an email, they may request in that particular email that they want your credit card number so then they can send you your winnings. And also to let you know, if you reply to a fraud email, you are placed on what is called a sucker list. And unfortunately, these lists can be sold again and again and again. And most of the time, perpetrators like this know that people that have fallen once will sometimes fall for it again, and you kind of think, well, if I've been scammed before, I'm not going to get scammed again. But you have to think about the economy. You have to think about the times that we're living in. Some people are desperate, and if they think they can obtain money somehow, they may try it again. They may think, okay, well, maybe the first time it wasn't legitimate, but maybe this time it is. So unfortunately, we have seen this happen to people. They've gotten numerous checks in the mail, and they look like real checks, and then we found out after we made the deposit for them that they weren't. So just make sure that you don't answer any type of emails that look like they can be fraudulent, because you'll just get bombarded with all of them. And then probably one of the most common types of fraudulent activity is credit card compromise. So we're going to talk a little bit today about when you use your credit card and you order online. I'm going to give you some tips to help you to know whether or not you are on a reputable site, and I'm going to give you some resources to use to protect your credit card when you're buying online. So only use reputable websites to make a purchase using your credit or your debit card. If you've never ordered from the company and you're just not sure, you probably shouldn't order from them if you've not made that relationship. Monitor the activity on your financial accounts regularly by using online banking, and you can also use e-alerts. E-alerts is where you can set up within your online banking, if a transaction happens, you can set up an alert that you would get over email. You can set it up to where you get a text message. I have mine set up for both. So if I go downstairs at the branch and withdraw some money, I get an alert that money's been withdrawn from my account. I also get alert if I transfer money. So within your online banking, you should be able to set up those alerts that can just let you know if something's going on, and if you didn't do it, that would be a good indication that you need to get it on your account and look to see what's going on. And then also too, there is something that's called Verified by Visa and MasterCard Secure Code. You want to sign up for that free online protection, and you can sign up through mydccu.com. And I'm going to take you to the Verified by Visa site to let you see what it looks like. But what happens is you will set up your card number, whether it's a MasterCard or whether it's a Visa, and you will also choose a password. And then anytime that you are on participating merchants who participate with Verified by Visa or MasterCard Secure Code, they're going to ask you for a code before you can make that purchase, whatever that password is that you set up. So if somebody does try to use your credit card, somehow they've obtained your number, or maybe they've stolen your credit card, they wouldn't have that password that you set up on these accounts to be able to make purchases online. And then looking a little bit more in detail about buying online, we are going to look for some items when you are on a website to know whether or not you're on a secure site and whether or not you are on a real site or a fictitious site. So the first thing that you want to do is check for a closed padlock on the payment page before giving payment information. You're going to click on the padlock to view the certificate, and the certificate should only be registered with the company from which you're buying. And you want to make sure in the URL, the address bar, that you see HTTPS versus HTTP. And I'm going to give you an example of each one of these items that we just talked about so you can see it as well as just hear what I'm saying. So the first example is in your address bar in that URL, it's HTTPS. That S means secure. And then somewhere, I've seen it on computers a couple of different ways. Some are down at the bottom on the address bar, some of them are at the top, but somewhere you should see the little padlock, and it should be closed because that means you're on a secure site. You can click on the padlock, and once you do that, it will tell you the certificate, who it's issued to. So for example, this is someone logging into their online banking account at DCCU. Because that should be a secure site because you're putting in a password and then you're going to be obtaining your personal information, you want to make sure that you're on a secure site. So you can look on the certificate, and somewhere in this area you'll see that it says My DCCU, or whatever company that you're buying something from or you're making the payment from. You should see that it was issued to this particular company. So those are the things that will help you know that you are on a real site and that you are on a secured site, so you can put in personal information. And then also protecting yourself. You want to monitor accounts frequently using online banking. Switch to e-statements instead of a paper statement. That is just a safer thing to do, because if you have a mailbox and your financial institution and your credit card statements are being mailed to you monthly and someone decides that they are going to steal your mail, your information is in that mailbox. But if you receive them electronically, then someone doesn't have the opportunity to steal your information. Have mail delivered to a P.O. box versus an open mailbox. And some people's mailbox right there on their side of their house as they open their front door. But in some neighborhoods, mailboxes could be far away from the houses. So we do recommend that you use a P.O. box versus just having everything mailed to your physical mailbox. Use online banking. Write fewer checks to lessen the opportunity for your account to be compromised. I am a firm believer in online banking. I actually love it. I use it all the time. Let's think about this. When you have a personal check, what are some of the items that are on your personal check? Your name, your ABA routing number, which is your electronic address for your financial institution, your account number. All of your personal information is on there. And let's say, for example, you put something in the mail and it never reaches whoever you're mailing it to. Somebody gets a hold of it, they open it, now they have your information, your account information. But if you use online bill payer, you set the check up to be mailed to whoever the company is, and then the only account number that will show on the check is your account that you have with, like, your cell phone bill or your cable bill or your electric bill. So it won't have your financial institution's information on there. It's just a check being mailed to the company who you're paying the bill with. So that's a lot safer for you to use. And then we talked earlier about getting a free credit report. In 2003, Congress passed an amendment to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which allowed all consumers to get a free credit report from the 3 credit reporting agencies. And I am going to take you to the site because, again, we want to make sure you're on a legitimate site. But if you are using your credit report to monitor fraud, identity theft, I do recommend that you spread out the credit reports that you get throughout the year, just because you may decide to get all 3 of them at the beginning of the year. Well, then you couldn't get another one without having to pay for it until the following year. And let's say something in the middle of the year happens. Somebody steals your credit cards, or somehow your identity's been compromised and someone opens a credit card up in your name and you had no clue. But if you spread it out over the course of the year, get one at the beginning of the year, get one in the middle of the year, get one closer to the end of the year, then you're able to view and monitor your accounts over the course of a year, and you'd be able to pick up identity theft a lot quicker, or fraudulent activity a lot quicker. So let's go to the site. And it is annualcreditreport.com. It is not freecreditreport.com. I do think they have some really, really good commercials, but that is not the site that you are going to use to get your free credit report. And again, the 3 credit reporting agencies came together with the Federal Trade Commission to make up this website. So you'll see brought to you by Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And then you can request your free credit report. Once you click here, and we're not going to, but once you click here, it's going to ask you some personal information. It's completely fine to put it in there because, again, this is a government-run site. And it is a safe site, but you can put in your information and then get that free credit report. If you prefer not to do it online, maybe you don't have access, you can also call the number that's here. Also, too, the Federal Trade Commission, if you have had identity theft happen to you, they have tons of resources out there. They have pages and pages and pages of resources to help you. So here's the Federal Trade Commission's contact information. I highly recommend you, again, to go to their site and just see everything that's out there. They have just a whole section committed to identity theft and fraud, and it can make you a better informed consumer when you read any type of information like that. And then also, too, most of us have become debit card users, so we're not writing as many checks as we used to. But from time to time, we do have to still write personal checks. So here are some tips. I'm not going to read them all, and again, they will be on the presentation, so you'll have them all in front of you, but I'm just going to go over a couple of them just to hit some high notes here. Of course, you want to always keep your account information confidential. Monitor your check orders. Let's say you ordered a box of checks. Normally it takes about 7 to 10 working days to get them in. If it's been several weeks and you haven't gotten them in, you might want to just call your financial institution to see if they've been mailed, and when they did get mailed, just to be on the safe side, because someone could have gotten them out of your mailbox and started to use them without your knowledge. Also, we recommend that you pay bills through the post office and not from your home. I know I have done it in the past. I no longer do it. But how many of you out there listening to us today, you have gotten a bill in the mail, you've written a personal check for it, you've put it in that envelope, and then you put it in your mailbox and you put that red flag up? Well, I like to use that red flag as an example because that is a red flag to someone who may be interested in getting your mail. They know that you're getting ready to send something off, and it's very possible it could have a check in it with some personal information. So put them in a mailbox as you're traveling to work or you're going shopping. Find a post office, put it in their box. That way it gives any kind of fraudster less chance of stealing your information. Also, too, if your home has been burglarized, determine if any checks have been stolen. One of the things that a thief will do is they will rip out checks in the middle of the book. So you may look in the top or on the front of the book and it doesn't look like they took anything. But go through the middle of your books just to make sure there was nothing in the middle that was taken. And then this leads me up to this cute slide. Isn't this little boy darling? Well, we talked about very early in the webinar that anyone can be a victim of identity theft, young or old, average or rich and famous. Well, in this case, this 4-year-old owes $39,000 in debt. We don't always think about protecting our children. We think that, well, nobody can really, hurt or harm their identity. Unfortunately, it has happened, and it's also unfortunate that sometimes it can even be family members who steal a child's identity. So these are the things that you want to do to keep your children's information protected. Never carry a child's social security number in your wallet. Somehow come up with a way that you either memorize your child's social security number, because time to time you are asked for that, or come up with a code of how you write it down that doesn't look like a social security number if you just can't memorize it. I know for myself, it's always hard for me to know mine and my daughter's, but come up with some kind of code. That way you're not carrying that social security card in your wallet. Also, too, watch for mail that may be credit card offers or any kind of inappropriate document in your child's name. That is a very good indicator. If you start getting credit card offers in a 4-year-old's name, that their identity could have been stolen. So watch for those, and if you start seeing things like that show up, check to see if your child has a credit report. Just like you would check for your credit report. You can go in, put in their information. Hopefully it will say that they don't, but it definitely could say that they do if you start seeing these inappropriate documents in your child's name. And also, we said earlier that we're going to provide you with some resources to stop junk mail. And here are 2 websites that you can go to, and you can choose what you want. Because sometimes you get a catalog that you absolutely love, and you don't want to stop that. So you have a choice of saying, okay, I want this one, but I don't necessarily want this one. And there's dmachoice.org, there's catalogchoice.org, and also, too, don't fill out registration forms for new products. Sometimes you can be at certain events and people want your information, and then after you have filled out form after form after form, and then you start getting things in the mail, you start getting phone calls. So these are ways that can help you stop the junk mail, and then you would be less likely to be a person that has fraudulent activity or scams happen to. And that is all the information that I have for you today. We are going to stop now, and we are going to take your questions. So hopefully we'll have some questions come in, and we will be able to answer them for you. Okay, it does look like we have one question, and it's a very good question. If my credit card is stolen and used, who is responsible for those charges that were charged on my card? Well, I don't know if you remember during the presentation, but we did talk about reviewing your credit card statements for fraudulent activity, because you have a time period in order for you to report any type of fraud on a credit card. If someone does it fraudulently, you are not responsible. You could be responsible up to the first $50, but most financial institutions will waive that. But you have 60 days to report that to your credit card company. If you choose not to report it within that 60-day time frame, you may not get your money back, and ultimately then you would be responsible. But if you do everything that your credit card company tells you to do, then you won't be responsible for those items on your credit card. Okay, and we have another question. Are these companies, or excuse me, are there companies that help me monitor my identity and keep me secure? Yes, there are companies out there that help you. They will normally charge you. the things that we went over today, if you do the things that I tell you to do, then you would be the one that would monitor your identity, and then you wouldn't have to use a company to do so. However, I've had people tell me that they work out of the country, they're gone for months at a time, they don't always get to use their financial statement or look at their financial statements the way they would like to. I have recommended that you use a company maybe in those situations because you want to make sure that nothing is going undetected. But if you're just a normal consumer and you have access to your accounts and you have a computer where you can get online and look, I definitely recommend that you don't use these type of companies because, again, there is a monthly fee. Okay, and our next question is regarding my children. How old should they be in order to have a credit report? Well, first of all, normally you can't obtain credit until you're 18. So if they're under the age of 18, they should not have a credit report. And the second part to that question is, does credit reporting only start once you take out a credit card in the child's name? Yes, if credit has been obtained in the child's name, then credit reporting does start, because once you start using lending products, whether it's a mortgage, a credit card, a car loan, anything like that, you will start generating a credit report. And we have another question. I would like more information on protecting my identity online. Is there any tips that you have for online fraud? Yes, we have plenty of tips. One of the things that we are hoping to do in the near future is talk about internet scams and things like phishing and farming and smishing and vishing. It seems like there's one for every letter in the alphabet. And we are hoping to bring that to you real soon and be looking out for that, so you can join us for that particular webinar. Well, it doesn't look like anybody else has any questions, so I want to again thank you for joining us today. Shortly, you should get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And let me get my contact information up for you again. It is Sarah Landrum at mydccu.com. Please feel free to contact me. If you go through the presentation and you're like, oh, what did she say there? Or maybe it was something that you didn't hear me say at all, or maybe something I didn't cover. Please feel free to reach out for us, because we want you to keep your identity and all your financial information as safe as you possibly can. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.